Okay, everybody, now we've got our fabric in place. Our pocket is ready to be sewn onto the apron. There are a couple of things that I just want to make clear. I did end up putting another pin here and another pin at the end, almost at the end of this corner. And that's because as soon as I put it down on the sewing machine, I had this large flap of fabric kind of moving around, and I just wanted it to be a little bit more secure. Another thing, if you find that your folds from underneath are starting to come out, you just press them back into place, not with an iron, just fold them back into place and make sure there's no bunching there. Okay, so we are going to start sewing this here a little bit, but notice I cannot see a 5/8 line. So how am I going to know what to do? Well, my edge of the pocket is going to serve as my guide, and I want that lined up directly with the edge of the presser foot. So that's going to be my line that I'm going to follow. I want my presser foot to stay right at the edge of my pocket there. And as I sew down, when I get to a pin, before I sew it, I'm not going to sew over it. I'm going to pull that pin out. I'm going to put it in a pin cushion. So keep a pin cushion near you so that those pins don't fall on the floor. And when you get to, oh, and don't forget to do a little reverse at the top, a little reverse stitching at the top to secure it. Then you're going to sew all the way down to the bottom. Now this is where you're going to use your pivoting skills, your turning skills. That's what we practiced with those two practice pieces of fabric before we started with our apron. Okay, so just to remind you, when you get down here to the end, don't sew using the pedal all the way to the end. Stop when you feel like you're kind of close. Make sure that needle is in the fabric by turning your dial. If it already is, then it's good. You don't have to do any more turning. Lift the presser foot, then turn your fabric so that this edge is now lined up with the edge of your presser foot. Now, what if it's not? Okay, it either means that you went too far or you didn't go far enough with your sewing down to the edge. Okay, so that's an easy fix. You will lift your presser foot again, because you should have put it down once you turned your fabric so that you could test if it was lined up. So you lift your presser foot, always keeping your needle in the fabric because that's what's holding it in place. You'll turn your fabric back to this edge. Now, when you turned it, if the edge was past the edge of your presser foot, that means you didn't go far enough. Now, obviously at this point, your fabric is going to be up so that this will be where the needle is, okay? But if you didn't go far enough, then you turn your fabric back, you put the presser foot down, and you manually turn the knob towards you. Don't use the pedal, you'll go too fast. Do it a couple of times or however many times you think it might take you to get to the proper place. When you think you're there, make sure that needle is back in the fabric. Lift the presser foot, turn your fabric, and then see where this edge lines up with this edge. If you happen to go too far, then you're going to see the edge somewhere in here. It will not have come to the edge of your presser foot. So that means then making sure that needle is always there, lifting the presser foot. You're going to go in reverse manually. So you will hold the reverse lever down, hold it all the way down with your left hand while you're turning towards you, always turning towards you, whether you're going in reverse or forward. Okay, that will move the needle backwards on your fabric. Okay, when you think you've gone far enough, just make sure that needle is in your fabric. It's going to hold it in place while you lift your presser foot. Turn your fabric again, and do that as much as you need to in order to line this edge up with the edge of your presser foot. Once that's taken care of, Then you've got a little bit longer of a stretch of sewing to do. Straight stitch all the way down. Then you come to another corner and you're going to pivot or turn just like you did back here. Okay, always testing where the edge, this edge then will need to be lined up with your presser foot. Then you're going to sew all the way to your end. You're not going to forget to remove pins before you get to them, but if you do, your needle should go right over it. But it's always good to remove those pins because if your needle hits it just right, it could break your sewing needle, and of course you don't want that. Then when you get up, you're going to sew up to the end of the pocket, and then what are you going to do? You're going to do a little bit of a reverse. And then we'll talk about how you finish off your pocket.